California Governor, or as we refer to him as podcaster Newsom, steps in to save Valero Refinery, avoiding fuel price shock. Now, some people are predicting, Republicans in California are predicting $12 a gallon. California, a USC professor said $8.43 gas will spike to in California. What's Newsom doing now? He's just trying to save his ass. Let's get into it. Here we go. So, as gruesome Newsom campaigns for president of the United States, it's not going to look all that great if gasoline prices go whoop, just straight to the moon for California. Gasoline prices are higher here in Washington right now because we have that whole cap and trade nonsense for our gasoline. It'll only be pennies on the dollar for a gallon of gas. Only pennies. But let's back up a second. What are we trying to avoid here? We're trying to avoid the closure of the Valero Benicia refinery. Because when that closes down and when the Phillips 66 refinery closes down, you've shrunk California's ability to produce its own special blend of gasoline by about 17%, which means gas prices are going to go to the moon. Let's see what the closure looks like. And this is a video from about 3 months ago.
In other news, Valero Refining Company has told state regulators it is considering closing its facility in the Bay Area. The San Francisco Chronicle says the company announced today that it gave the California Energy Commission notice that it may cease operations at Valero's Benicia refinery by the end of April of 2026. This comes after Phillips 66 CEO said the company will shut down its Southern California refinery by this October. Earlier this morning, Governor Gavin Newsom explained how the state is responding to the possible refinery closure.
There was a requirement to give notification as relates to any augmentation operations or closures for refineries in the state of California. Pursuant to that, we were given notification this morning, late last night, early this morning, made official. And we have a year to now address that issue. And I can assure you, beginning last night, we had all hands, and we're in the process of addressing any anxiety that may be created or any market disruption that may be created by that announcement.
The Valero is the sixth largest.
I gotta be honest. I can barely listen to that guy talk. I don't know about you, but when that guy opens his mouth up, I automatically assume he's lying. He is not telling us the truth. It's just because whatever comes out of his mouth is just, if you know the facts, you're like, you're doing a spin here. Oh, we're going to try and, offset any impact. Well, why is there impact to your marketplace? What has caused Valero to leave your state? What has caused Phillips 66 to do the same thing? What has caused Chevron to take its headquarters and go, we're going to Houston. Houston, we have a problem. Chevron incoming. You know what I mean? So it's because California is the worst state for overregulation of the oil industry, of gasoline refinery. It's the worst. I mean, they've just got regulations 10 ways from Sunday. I mean, it is absolutely reprehensible what California has done through their own policies to the people of California in the name of cleaning up the environment. Yeah, well, what's India doing? What's China doing on that regard? Nothing? Oh, okay. Well, let's go ahead and screw our own constituents, our own residents over, and we'll pretend that this is having a big impact on everything, when in reality, California can't create enough of its own gasoline, so it's going to import gasoline from the Middle East. Yeah, it's going to be more expensive, and the carbon emissions from those oil tankers, you don't even want to know. You don't even want to know. Horrific. But then let's go ahead and let's just keep, constricting our own ability to make gasoline, and I'm sure it'll work out. Well, it's not. And that's what we got going on here. In a dramatic move that captured national attention, California Governor Gavin Newsom stepped in to prevent the closure of Valero's Benicia refinery, citing the potential for an unprecedented fuel price shock that would devastate the state's economy. This is all because of your own actions. You went down this crazy green road of, well, it's going to be great for everything. And it just wasn't. You are literally pulling out your revolver and shooting yourself right in the foot. And that's what you've done. And now you got a bleeding foot and you're going to try and run around. And instead of asking for an ambulance, you're going to ask for a buyer. Is there a buyer for a slightly used refinery in California? Anyone? Good luck with that. California? Who's going to want to buy it? That wouldn't be a shocker, would it? Well, Saudi Arabia is going to buy a large refinery in California. Should work out fine. This intervention, announced through Executive Order N2501, represents a rare moment when California's progressive environmental agenda yielded to immediate economic and energy security concerns. Don't you love that? That is some wordy way to say that California's own policies are wrecking it's wrecking everything. Because when gasoline prices goes up, everything goes up. Inflation goes through the roof because gasoline is necessary to transport things, to run things. You know the drill. I don't need to explain that to you. And so because they have their own special blend of herbs and seasoning, because California is so special, it's so progressive, they gotta come up with another plan. And that plan is, well, when Valero closes it down, we need somebody else to run it. Governor's office moved swiftly after Valero Energy Corporation announced potential closure for its North California facility, which has been operating since 1968, when I was born. According to industry analysts, the company had been struggling with California's increasingly stringent environmental regulations and substantial compliance costs that threaten the facility's economic viability. And so what happens is California has required, they don't like these price spikes. When a refinery goes down, when it has to, remodel something or something along those lines, California has required the refineries to keep a massive amount of reserves so that there aren't these big price spikes. They've required that. And there's just all kinds of regulations which are just wildly onerous. In California, they've pushed the oil industry out. Now, this is what you get. This is what you get. Oil saying, bye-bye. Valero saying, we're not even going to try and sell this bad boy refinery. We are closing it. Closed. Gone. This intervention wasn't about choosing industry over environment. It was about preventing economic havoc that would disproportionately harm working families. This is what Gruesome Newsom said, stated in his announcement of the emergency measures. We cannot allow a chaotic transition that punishes consumers while we build toward our clean energy future. Well, you building towards your clean energy future caused this. You're the reason Valero's leaving. You're the reason Phillips is leaving. You're the reason Chevron is leaving. Your overregulation and just absolutely insane policies towards fossil fuels. The extraordinary step marks a significant shift in California's approach to its refining sector, acknowledging the critical role these facilities still play in the state's complex energy landscape, even as it pursues ambitious climate goals. You can't have one and have the other. Which one do you want to go for? Cheap gasoline, cheaper gasoline, or really expensive gasoline and just one big circle jerk on this is going to be great for the environment? Pick which one, because you can't have them both. Oh, Sean, we can do this. Well, you either got to keep the refinery open, or when it closes, you're going to have more expensive gas. More expensive gas. So, but in the initial refinery process, approximately 145,000 barrels of crude oil, about 10% of the total refining capacity. And then when the other one closes down, it's about 17%. You've constricted the supply. So you're either going to have to bring it in, or you don't produce that much and prices skyrocket. Either way, prices are going to go up in California. Single refinery closures can disrupt West Coast supply for months, sometimes years. I'm in Washington. Absolutely. We see it here. And we've got our own special blend of taxes. got this carbon cap and trade. It's just absurd. It's literally absurd. And that's how you get gas prices. Gasoline for me right now is $4.79 a gallon here in Bellevue for regular unleaded. $4.79 a gallon. I think it's like $5.25 for Supreme, something like that. It's expensive. And it's because we got these ridiculous taxes to feed all of these programs that go to a bunch of ridiculous, progressive, liberal nonsense. It's nonsense. That's what you get for living in Washington. Shenanigans and nonsense. All right. So here's the unique fuel market challenges. Before we get into that, so what happened is Gavin Newsom did this executive order, and then he's got the California Energy Commission. Literally, anybody want to buy a refinery in California? I mean, what a tough sell. Buyer objection. Oh, it's in California? Guys, I don't think so. Nah, I don't think so. Here's what makes their fuel market challenging. I love that word, challenging. I have concern. There are challenges. Special fuel formulations. California requires unique gasoline, which is expensive, and you can't make it anywhere else. Only in California. Meets the state's strict air quality standards, meaning fuel simply can't be imported from neighboring states. Limited import infrastructure. The state has just 5 marine terminals capable of handling its specialized gas blend. All of these things just go to constrict supply of gas. Minimal pipeline connections. Unlike other regions, California lacks substantial pipeline connections to other refining centers. Huh? Why is that? Because you did that. Minimal pipeline, declining refinery count. Declining. We're on the decline. Refineries are leaving. 4 refineries have closed or converted to biofuel production since 2020, reducing redundancy in the system. Reducing California's ability to produce its own special blend of herbs and seasoning. Geographic isolation. Mountain ranges and substantial distances separate California from the other major refining centers. We get that in Washington. This isolation means minor supply disruptions can cause significant price volatility. And I know this is some, boring stuff, but this is going to have big impact, not only on California, on adjoining states and the economy in whole, because anything coming out of California, and California, if it were a country, would have the 4th largest GDP in the world. It is massive. So when products coming out of California are expensive, it impacts a whole bunch of sectors within the economy. How's that for like technical econ talk? It's a bunch. So some institute estimates that approximately 20% of California households spend more than 15% of their income on transportation fuel costs. It's expensive to drive in California. It's expensive to drive in Washington. It's expensive to drive in Oregon. It just is. I mean, it's brutal. How did the governor justify the intervention? Well, governor's office presented comprehensive economic analysis from state energy officials. We got damage, absent intervention, beyond the immediate fuel prices. The analysis highlighted several cascading effects. Remember, this is all due to self-induced policy. All self-induced. Pull out that revolver, hold your foot out, slightly away from the other foot so you don't shoot both feet, and that's what you got. Increased cost for goods transportation. Yep. Agricultural sector devastation. Yep. Manufacturing competitiveness decline. Yep. Disproportionate harm to rural communities. Yep. With fewer transportation alternatives. Tourism industry impacts with price-sensitive vacation planning affected by fuel costs. Absolutely. These are not new things. These are not new things by any shake of the imagination. They're just not. This is daily stuff that happens. All right. So when you do this to the refinery system, this is what happens. We knew this going in. Newsom knew that what he was doing could have this impact, but they were so hell-bent on going green. Oh, it's going to be the greatest thing ever. until it wasn't the greatest thing ever. And then literally, anybody want to buy a refinery? Yeah. I mean, that's reality. You know, I make fun because that's about all you can do. I mean, it's like in just an absolute hood of a neighborhood. You know what I mean? Hey, anybody want to buy this slightly burned out meth lab complex? I mean, it's got great upside potential. I mean, it really could use some, elbow grease. It's a diamond in the rough. And that's how you do. And it's in an area where we don't really want housing at all. At all. We don't approve of this, not one single bit. But could somebody come buy this property? Could you come buy this property? Stat now? Because otherwise, this ridiculous stuff here comes into play because you've shrunk the supply. So, without intervention, we face the prospect of economic shock waves that impact every Californian. Well, you did this to yourself. This is your own policy. You created this. Refineries are leaving because of you, knuckleheads. In California, energy security considerations, supply chain resilience, critical infrastructure support, strategic transition planning. Abrupt refinery closures prevent orderly technology transitions and workforce retraining. Well, they gave you a pretty good size heads up, but now you're sitting back going, this isn't good. We got to do something. Well, let's get an executive order out there so I look like I'm doing something. So if this gets closed down, because I don't know who's going to buy it. I mean, what kind of sham operation is going to buy this refinery? Because everybody else is walking away. Yeah, we're not going to remodel. We're not going to put any money into this refinery that we have in California because the future for refineries in California, they're basically telling us that they don't want to sell any new cars past 2035 that are operated on gasoline. So the future for, oil, for fossil fuels in California is limited at best. That is everything that politicians in California have been throwing out there. Everything in the way of policy, that's what it ends up with. The refinery saying, you know what? We've thought about it. We ran the numbers. We're going to shut this bad boy down. We're not even going to try and sell it. We're just not even going to bother. We're done. We're boop. We're done. We're out. What regulatory challenges led to the crisis? How about all of them? Low carbon fuel standard. Yep. Increasingly stringent carbon intensity reduction requirements, cap and trade compliance costs. But these are common in all liberal progressive states. These are very common. Advanced air monitoring requirements. Implementation of costly fence line monitoring systems. So the state just does all of these restrictions on refineries and then goes, oh, I can't believe you're leaving. It's like a, abusive husband just beating on his wife time and time and time again. And then after 10 years, she's all just, broken bones and scars. And, after 10 years, she leaves and the guys go, what happened? I don't get it. I don't understand. Why did you leave? Oh, let's get somebody else in here. Anybody want to come into a wildly abusive relationship where I'm just going to beat the crap out of you? Anyone? Bueller? No. We got water discharge restrictions, tightened limits under revised whatever permits. We got renewable fuel blending mandates, higher percentage requirements each year. Nobody's going to want to step in on this and say, oh yeah, give me some of that. Let me buy that refinery. Balancing environmental goals with energy needs. Demand versus supply focus. California's climate policies have emphasized reducing petroleum demand, but paid less attention to managing supply infrastructure transitions, meaning getting from point A to point B, where we got a lot of gas cars to fewer gas cars. We're not doing that very well. And that's why you've got an emergency here, because reality is happening. The super green whole, less reliance upon fossil fuels, that whole thing is California is the poster child for that. What happens when you try and basically do something ahead of its time? What's going to happen? Well, price of gas is going to go through the roof because nobody wants to deal with these shenanigans. Nobody wants to deal with this nonsense. Hey, you want to go refine some gas in California? I don't think so. Cumulative impact challenges. Individual regulations may be manageable, but their combined effect creates viability challenges. And Valero has said our viability here in California is none. And we're not even going to try and sell. We're not going to try and offload. We're not going to mothball the refinery for a while. We're just shutting that bad boy down, just closed. Regional equity concerns. Facility closures create concentrated economic impacts in specific communities. That's what happens when you close a business down that that community is, reliant upon. So, Benicia, you're going to lose a refinery. California, you're going to lose 2 refineries. But this is nothing new. This has been years and years and years of stupid policy that really doesn't help things out much because we live on a globe. We live on a earth. And if the other countries aren't doing their part, good luck with that. Especially California. You want a virtue signal so badly that you're clean, you're green, you're doing what you can for the environment. And then you just basically screw your constituents with that policy because refineries close down and your gas prices are going to go to the moon. And California knows it. I mean, what's the headline? Fuel shock. Ugh. $8 a gallon gas? Ugh. The USC said, right? How about California Dems reportedly scrambling to find buyer for refinery after running owner out of town? That is the best, right? That is just the best. It's true. That is exactly what you did. And so, a lot of my podcast is about policy and the impacts of terrible, liberal, progressive policy. And this is one massive, massive example that impacts not only California again, but, the whole country, because so much business is done, so much stuff is produced in California. When fuel prices skyrocket in California, that has a trickle-down effect, and it'll impact everybody. So when people say, it's in California, I can't do anything about that, I don't worry about it. Yeah, but you're going to pay for it too. You're going to pay for increased cost of your whatever, cost of your avocados, cost of your, stuff that comes out of California, or just the way this ecosystem works, right? It's, everything's connected. And when you rock one sector, especially a sector as big as California, fuel costs, it's going to have shocking impact. What will that look like? How much will gas actually go up? It's a hard call, right? We don't know. We don't know until it happens. And when it happens, I'll be podcasting that stuff. Thanks so much for being here. I'd love to have you subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.